Hey, I'm Siobhan, and I love talking about all the things related to freedom and personal growth. And I'm on a journey to redefine freedom on my own terms as I become the woman I desire to be. Each week, I'll share in real time what I'm learning as I do my inner work while creating a safe space for my listeners to feel seen. If you desire to be free and live a life that feels good to you, then you're in the right place for beautiful conversations that's going to support you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to the Siobhan J. Middleton podcast. Now let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan, and I'm so happy that you are here again for another week. So as you can probably notice, it's been a couple of weeks since I recorded a new episode, and that is because my life has been quite stressful, to say the least. There were several things that were happening back to back that prevented me from showing up here. And if you've been following me on the gram, the one thing that has been huge in my life is that my grandmother transitioned. And my grandmother had been in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and she went in for one thing, and the longer you stay in there, things begin to happen. And my grandmother was 93 years old. And so she started to have other health complications in addition to the dementia that she had already been dealing with for a couple of years. So we learned a couple of weeks ago that we didn't have much longer with her. And I have been processing that, navigating all of the things while being a mother, while earning money, while living life and just trying to keep up with it all. And I'll be honest, it has been quite stressful. And one of the things that I am truly grateful for is that several weeks ago, I found a new therapist. And my God, I could not imagine moving through life without having the support of a therapist in this space. Initially, I had wanted a new therapist to help me where I'm at now, where I am dealing with, I guess, a new identity, and self-discovery and many transitions that are happening in my life. And in the midst of that, my grandmother transitioned. Usually in the past, I have chosen a therapist for very specific reasons, whether it was to heal my mother wounds. I went to marriage counseling, and then I also found a therapist to help me process my divorce and all of the grief and everything that would come up as a result of that. But this particular therapist that I chose is for me, meaning I'm not going to her for anyone else but myself. And this is a very new space that I'm in where I'm solely working on Siobhan and not other people. And I will say that it has been eye-opening as I've been working with her for the last 3 weeks. And I consider myself quite lucky that I am able to choose a great therapist right off bat. I'm looking forward to what I'm going to discover about myself as I lean into this new identity that I'm still figuring out. I do have some thoughts where I'm at now that I'm going to record an episode about. But even that, I know is going to continue to change the more that I learn about myself. And so just to give you a little insight of where I'm at, I have lived my whole life for other people. And I allowed other people, whether it was a conscious choice or an unconscious choice, to dictate how I move through life. And now, at the age of 43, I want to live for myself, I really want to be intentional about making myself proud. I really want to live for me, you know? The last several weeks have been, intense to say the least. So much so that I haven't even been skating. I'm just now getting back. I think I went for the first time after a month almost last weekend. And because I have been tending to myself and, you know, going through this process of my grandmother transitioning and then preparing for the funeral, it's been a lot. It's truly been a lot. And I haven't had any energy or capacity to do anything other than the things that I had to do on a, day-to-day basis. My grandmother's transitioning impacted me in a way that I will be processing for a while. And I'm figuring out a lot as I go. And one of the things that because I did speak at her funeral, one of the things that I had shared with the audience is how my whole life I've been trying to make my grandmother happy. My grandmother raised me since I was a little girl, and I moved in with her when I was a teenager. And I've been trying to make her happy, And the Friday before she transitioned, we were all at the hospital, and barely audible, barely opening her eyes, I had said to her, Siobhan is here, Granny. Siobhan is here. And she made out my name, and you can tell that she says Siobhan. And when I knew I had her attention, I took a step back so she could see me. And she said, "You look happy. You look good." And I said, "Granny, I am happy. And I do look good." And I do this little dance for her, and she smiles. And that would be the final words that my grandmother said to me. And as I'm processing all of this, the very thing that I wanted was to make my grandmother proud. And now, as I am on this deeper self-discovery journey and figuring out my identity and who I am, it's time to make myself proud. And so that is the work that I am doing. And so I feel like I have a clean slate, like a clean blank canvas. I get a fresh start to figure out who I am. And there's so many things that I don't know about myself, and there's many things that I do. I'm unpacking a lot and processing a lot. And I will say it brings me a lot of joy that my grandmother was able to see a glimpse of my happiness, because it's only going to get better from here. And the reason that I'm able to get back on this mic now in this moment is because my work makes me happy. Being able to inspire, to encourage men and women all over the world, that brings me joy. I was, when I went back to the rink for the first time, 2 weeks ago actually, and there was a woman who walked up to me, and I know she's listening because this is how the conversation got started. We were in skate class together. She skates up to me and she says, "I love your podcast." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And I hadn't even known that she had subscribed. And she goes on to say, "You're a gift. And you are taking people along with you through your life." And I explained to her that one of the things that I record my episodes and share what I do is because I want you to see what it looks like to be free in real time. So I decided not to batch really anymore, but I'm sharing in real time as life is happening, because I wish that other people would do this, right? And so what happens is that we'll listen to podcasts or we'll read books or articles or things of that nature, and you learn about people's journeys after they succeed. But more often than not, we need to know how you got there. What was the work that you had to do? And so I'm sharing with you guys in real time how I'm navigating this big, beautiful life that I get to live. And she goes on to, share that she's listened to like 8 or 9 episodes, and she speaks about each one. And with tears in my eyes, I said, thank you. I said, I really needed to hear your words today, because I've been going back and forth with, my work and how I want to show up. And then it's moments like this when people share with me how they experience my work that fuels me and nourishes me to keep going, even when I don't feel like it, Because I will be honest, there are days when I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? Or who is even listening? And then out of nowhere, Spirit always gives me a reminder. You keep showing up because this person needs to hear. And she had tears in her eyes. I had tears in my eyes. And I'm like, wow, I'm making a difference. And I shared with her that there are thousands of people all over the world that listen to my podcast. And I do not take that lightly. And I'll continue to show up. And I'm so grateful that she is experiencing my work in the way that she is, because it's exactly what I would want. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that if you're feeling like you've lost your way or life has been hard, what my friend has been reminding me to do is to breathe. Take deep breaths in and out as often as you think about it. Pause, take a moment to just reflect and to move a little bit slower. There's no rush to anything. And one of the things, as I think about my grandmother and her life, again, she was 93 years old. And even in her final days, she said, I lived a good life. God has been good to me. And I can only hope to live a long life as my grandmother. So while there is still breath in my body, I'm going to show up every single day and give it my best. Because like the young lady at the skating rink said, I'm a gift. We all are gifts to this world. And I don't want us to take that lightly. So be gentle with yourself and know that we're all dealing and processing something at any given time. And it's okay to start over again and again and again. I am 43 years old, and I'm just now coming into my own. And I feel so good that this life that I'm living now, it feels pretty amazing. And it's only going to get better from here. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether you're on Amazon, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, follow. If you're listening on YouTube, I would love for you to leave a comment below. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review and a sentence or two of what you enjoy about the podcast. You can ask a question, a topic you want me to discuss. That will be the perfect place to do that, because I read them all. And if my work is inspiring you in any capacity, you could treat me to a cup of coffee, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which I absolutely adore coffee. The link is in the show notes for that. And then share this episode with a friend and say, hey, listen to this. And maybe you have a conversation about it. Remind your friends to breathe, to take a moment to just live life. Please subscribe to my weekly newsletter. The link is in the show notes. You have 2 options. You can get my free newsletter every single week, or you can become a paid subscriber and get video content and additional resources from yours truly. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And sending you so much love and light. Until next time.